mom said you go to church, whether you like it or not,
Good
until
mom.
you become an adult, which in her eyes was about 17.
Okay.
So from tiny, I was going to church every Sunday
Uh-huh.
until I was 17.
Okay. That's not
Seven.
bad advice.
Yeah, yeah, no,
I would give that to my kid.
yeah.
And he was forced to go to church until he decided. Of course, he decided
On his
younger
own
than
that he
17.
wanted
Yeah.
to. Yeah, well, I did the polar opposite. I I said I'm out.
I'm
I'm
out.
out and I'm never coming back. I just ran full sail into the world. Graduated college and high school at the same time. Got a job out of the gate, making as much as my parents' combined income, and was
He's a smart.
was
he's a smart guy.
loving life. And I thought that trajectory would just continue till the day I died. Um, Apart from God, apart from church, apart from the body, apart from any belief system. Well, see, my dad was very success based, and so he was happy.
Huh.
Like I was successful. I was doing well. He was doing well. So I don't think anybody really questioned anything. Um,
Were you obvious about your sort of rejection of faith?
no, no, not at all.
Oh, okay. So
That
you're
that
keeping
wasn't.
that hidden.
Yeah, that was just on the down low.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes more
yeah. So
sense
I
now.
was in tons of Christian contexts
Okay,
that opened all kinds of doors for me.
but you were
Because people
playing
were
it
like,
cool.
"Oh yeah, but you were always part of the church, and we know like you got faith and all this stuff." And I was like,
Interesting.
"Well, no, but whatever," you know.
Oh, that's so
I,
funny. It's I don't know how to say this without being kind of mean.
oh no, you can be mean. I was like Paul, man. I was a hypocrite.
It's funny because Christians talk about this kind of Christian all the
Yeah.
time. Don't do business with Christians; they're just a bunch of hypocrites.
Oh yeah. Well, that
But
would be
I've
the
never
kind
actually met one.
that's like that.
That's not actually
Yeah.
my experience. Like
Yeah.
most Christian business people that I know are like us.
Yeah.
We take our faith seriously. But you're
Mm.
telling me that you actually were what everybody talks about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Money and success driven, and most of my circles, I would say, revolved around that, and
Interesting.
that's where like real well, the rubber hits the road at some point in time for
No, no, no.
everybody.
I get it. There's a
It's
tension there.
yeah,
That's cool. That's cool. All
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Interesting. Go ahead. Keep going.
yeah. So
I'm sure it gets better from here.
I'm successful. I'm making great money. I have a great career, and but I have a background still where God is still back there somewhere in my conscience. Because when I was a child, I knew the difference between right and wrong. It was from God's word. It was ingrained in me from when I was little,
Right.
and that never departed from me.
Hmm.
When my lifestyle started having effect on myself and other people in my life that I cared about, and so in short order, what that looked like was, when you have a lot of money, your circle of friends are typically people that have a lot of money, which gives you a lot of access. Well, what does it give you access to? Well, what do you want? What does the world strive for? Power, sex, drugs,
Fame.
fame, like notoriety, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I was dating a girl, which most people in Spokane agreed she was one of the most beautiful women here. She hung out with all the models, strippers, crazy lifestyle. And she kind of took me down this road that was in a life that I didn't, being raised in a kind of, pseudo religious home, if you will. It's like there was a balance where it's like, well, we don't do these bad things, but there was an undercurrent where it was all kind of under the rug. It was all still there, but we knew it's like, well, you don't do these things. And so it's like, but my life, kind of stopped reflecting that facade, which really was what kind of broke through with me the realization my whole life is a facade. Everything is, is an illusion that I created what I even think is true about myself isn't. And then I had to face that reality, which looked like, I mean, this is kind of the things happen in life that you don't quite understand, So I was, I was at a gay bar with my girlfriend. She was cheating on me with another man who was bisexual, and I was given a date rape drug at a party that we had, and then we subsequently went to that bar later. That was a level of overdose where it almost killed me, and then I found out later the reasoning behind it was nefarious because of what her other partner had in store for me. And that night really just kind of rocked my world. Like stuff started falling apart. I ended up losing my job. Um, I actually worked at the same place that my girlfriend worked at. We worked together, and so she ended up quitting and like literally left town. She moved away, didn't talk to me ever again.
Wow.
And I had a college roommate who was my best friend. Um, he had a child. They were his wedding was coming up. I was like, really excited for him because his fiance was amazing. Was a really good friend. Anyway, long story short, that same evening he ended up getting one of our coworkers pregnant at the office I worked at.
Oh my.
And so that broke his relationship with his fiance. He didn't end up getting married. She went through a really struggling time, and it ended up breaking our friendship in an odd way. I don't know exactly why, but he became really mad at me. He said that I had kind of been a negative influence in his life, um, and there was some blame, which I think I received or probably deserved. I was not making good decisions. So best friend, job, girlfriend, broken wedding that was coming up. And I said, yeah, it's probably all my fault. So don't really know what to do about it. And so then as a depressed person, I decided I would kind of end the suffering, if you will, of my own mental torment and hurt conscience. And so I went downtown Spokane, Monroe Street Bridge, got up on the side of it to jump off, and it was around midnight that I was down there, and a lady comes across the bridge, walking her baby in a stroller, and I'm like, how is a lady gonna be on this bridge in the middle of the night, like, or maybe wants sleep or whatever? It doesn't make any sense. And I just heard a voice that said, "Don't do it. Don't do it. You can't do it in front of this lady, especially." And I was like, okay, well, I stepped back. I said, I'll do it in private where, don't have to hurt this lady who's a stranger to me. I'll go do it somewhere else. So later I went home and I hadn't been able to sleep. So I had everything. I had like, I don't even know. Name, it's like CRI, like any kind of drug that was for anxiety. Like I was on it, and none of it worked. I had sleeping pills, none of it worked. I had insomnia for over a year. I literally didn't sleep through the night for over an entire calendar year. And so the torment just became so shattering to my life. I couldn't hold down a job. I was living at my parents' house in my old room, just a wash, like no life, nothing. So anyway, downed pills, took a handle of vodka, chugged that thing, went to bed, woke up, nothing. I didn't even have a hangover. And then I started getting extremely angry with God. Like
You figured out God, huh?
Yeah,
At this point,
at this point,
you
I was
started
like,
thinking about God.
I started thinking about God, and I was angry with him
Oh, that's
because
hilarious.
I said, you won't even let me take my own life. I can't even do that part. I'm such a failure. I'm failing at taking my own life from myself.
That's shocking. It's funny. It's not funny, but
It
it is ironic, that you don't think about God all this time. Obviously, there's times when you thought about God, but now
Sure.
you give your full attention to him, and it's only to hate him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I woke up every morning and just hated God. I would yell at him, I'm like, I know you're invisible. I know you hear me. I hate you. I tell God that I hate him. I tell God that I was so angry. And angry because he wouldn't even let me take my own life, which I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't understand what I didn't understand, and a lot of people don't.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on past that, how did the arc, bend towards God?
Yeah, so I was still frustrated, and I said, you know what? These 2 attempts have failed. Third time's gonna be the charm, and it's gonna stick. And so I made the decision. I would be in a location. So I was downtown. I was in a building. There was a receptionist. I was in an office upstairs at this point, like in a loft office. And I had a diary I found in the garage at my parents' that I had got in the 3rd grade, and I wrote on the last page of the diary. I wanted a letter to my family because I figured the police would look into it. They would figure out like why, because I had no blame or any like my family had never done anything to me. These are my own choices and decisions. They rested on me. So I wanted to let them know that none of this was their fault. Nothing that they had done. They had raised me well. They were great parents. I loved them. I love my brothers and my sisters. They're great, brothers and sisters. Always had been. I didn't want anyone to feel any guilt after I was gone, or even question that they had done anything. And so I wrote that. I hid it and locked myself in this building. Well, that was my plan. I was going to lock myself into the building where nobody could get in. And so anyway, long story short, my mom shows up. The receptionist calls me down from my office. My mom is standing in the doorway of the building, and she's like drenched. And I was like, Mom, is it raining outside? And she's like, no. And she had the diary in her hand. And it made no sense. She's like, I'm going to take you to the hospital. So they did blood work. They put me on suicide watch, and my mom told me, hey, they promised me one thing. You hold on for 1 year. If you'll just hold on for 1 year, just promise me that. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how much it hurts, just give me 1 year. And I promised her. I said, okay, Mom, I'll give you 1 year. I don't foresee anything changing, but I will do it for you because you're asking me. I'll give you that year. So she was praying like that whole year, that God would work in my life, show me something, reveal himself, save me. And so some time passed and this question came into my mind. How did my mom get the diary? Because it was hidden, and I hadn't written in it since I was like 11 or 10 years old. I got it for Christmas. I hadn't touched it in it like decade plus. It was in a box in the garage, and then it was subsequently hidden from there. And so then I started asking around, and in my family, my younger brother was in a punk band, and so like he was kind of sneaking out at night, smoking weed with his friends, stealing stuff, and so he just kind of had a little bit of a wild life. He was a wild child. My younger sister told me, she said, "Oh yeah, God was speaking to me, and he told me that I should go into your room and to go in this drawer and to remove things until the bottom of it and look underneath. And I found this book, And she said, and then he said, open it and turn it to the last page and read it. And I was like, wait, what? And she said, and then when I read it, I gave it to mom.
Wow.
This is my younger sister who wasn't even, she was like a baby when I got this book as a present. So she didn't even know that it existed. And I was like, wait, God talks to people? Like, I don't understand. Like, how did he talk to you? And she's like, well, I'm a Christian now. And then I was like, what does that mean? Like a Christian, like we all went to church and stuff. But she's like, oh no, I'm a born again believer. I have God's spirit. So I have a relationship with Jesus. I don't know. What is that? What is that? I don't know what that is. And then my brother, he invites me to his band. He's like, there's kind of been a change in our life and in our music and stuff. And so we're going to be playing at a church. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like a
Wow.
punk band playing at a church? I'm like, okay. And so he invites me to a concert. And I go to this concert and I'm like, I'm not going to church. And anyway, I went. Guy shared the gospel there after the concert.
Uh-huh.
And he said, hey, he did the altar call thing, with like
Yeah, yeah.
raise your hand.
Yeah.
And there was like 500 people in the crowd or more. And I was the only one. I raised my hand to talk to him afterwards about the gospel. And so I started explaining like my life and like I'd done all these things and I wasn't sure, like, could God actually forgive all that stuff? And he'd said to me, he said, I'm not sure.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. He said, I'm not sure.
Wow.
But if you never ask him, you'll never know. And then he turned and walked away.
Wow.
And God obviously knew that was exactly what I needed to hear, because I wouldn't say that as a good template for like,
No, I've never heard it
how
before.
you witnessed.
No.
But that's what he literally said.
I don't know. That's so bizarre.
And I went home and I had to wrestle with that. I had to wrestle with like,
yeah, of course.
if I ask God, because he told me Jesus died for all sin, all your sins, past, present, future. He shed his blood on the cross. He was buried. He rose again on the third day. And if you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead and confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, you can and will be saved. Well, that wasn't the religious background that I had. I mean, I went to like things like confessional, where a priest would tell me, did you hit your brother today? Yes, I did. I punched him. Okay, well, you need to make atonement for it. So the way you make atonement is you can walk an old lady across the road. And if you're kind to her, like that will kind of it'll even out the scales.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem is eventually when you go down this trajectory of life where you're living for yourself, well, some people ended up dying as a result of choices that I had made. And I'm like, I can't make up for it. It's impossible. What good could I do to bring someone back from the dead? I can't. And so when I heard the message of the gospel, I realized that even death itself could be atoned for, because if Jesus rose from the dead, then God has the power to atone for that kind of sin, things that we could never make up for. And so that night I put my faith and trust in the Lord, because I said, God, and I knew no, I mean, I went to church, but it was not like I didn't know the Bible
Right.
at all.
I get that.
I had no idea. And so I had this vague idea of like what baptism was. My parents had a swimming pool, and I literally went back into the backyard. I went to the pool, and I was like, I don't know what baptism is, Lord. I don't even know how this works, but I want to be forgiven, and I want Jesus in my life, and I want you to forgive me for everything that I've done, and I don't know what else to do other than receive your forgiveness for my sin. And I just fell back in the water and stood up. Like all the guilt, all the shame. I don't say this happens for everybody in the instant, but it was instantaneous. Every bit of shame was eradicated. I slept through the night in the first time in over like a year plus.